Welcome to Beyond the Ballot, AZ. I'm your host, Tom Collins, Executive Director of the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission.
And I'm Gina Roberts, Voter Education Director for Clean Elections.
Ballot access, claims of voter fraud, election integrity, those are major headlines. There were headlines last year, there are headlines again this year. And we have an expert here to talk with us today about just that. But before we do that, Gina, let's cover a little bit about how Arizona ensures that voters' information is accurate and protected.
Arizona has multiple processes in place to ensure the accuracy of our voter rolls. The first one is actually returned mail. So when returned mail comes back from a voter, if it's non-deliverable, it triggers multiple steps to eventually remove that person from the rolls. Next is we have death records. So when a voter passes away, the Arizona Department of Health is sending over every month death records to the counties to remove those folks from the voter registration rolls. Counties also use the National Change of Address database so that they get informed when a voter moves. And there are many more ways that our counties are utilizing different methods to ensure the accuracy of our rolls.
We're here with the Honorable Gary Restaino, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Arizona, and also a long-time career public servant, starting with service in the Peace Corps. He has served Arizona with community legal services. He is a longtime lawyer working in civil rights, and then a long career with the Department of Justice. So we're super excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Tom, and thanks to you and your team for all the great work you've done over the years.
So obviously, the federal government has a role in federal elections. You've both, as U.S. Attorney and then in your career in the Department of Justice beforehand, have dealt with the ballot access issues and the sort of voter integrity issues that we hear a lot about today. So where do you sort of set the baseline that folks should understand when they're thinking about those kinds of issues?
Sure. Let's start at the beginning here. The Department of Justice has a role, but it is a limited role. Most of elections are handled by the states, and our federal republic demands that, to have states' rights in how elections are run. I look at voting rights from a lay perspective like this. We want to ensure that only eligible voters vote, and we want to ensure that every single eligible voter who wants to vote can do so easily and efficiently.
You know, we've seen a lot happening in the past few months, and I'm just wondering if you could maybe help us understand that a little bit more. We've seen a lot of activity going on lately where the federal government has been involved. This includes suing Arizona specifically for our voter rolls, as well as many other states. And then recently, the issue that happened in Georgia with Fulton County with taking the ballots there. So really, I'm just wondering, can you touch base on that a little bit? To what purpose would the federal government need access to that information for? What could potentially be the outcome of that? How would it potentially serve elections?
Sure. Let's start with Fulton County. That frightens me that the federal government is seeking those ballots. It also discourages me because it seems to be just bad lawyering on the part of the Department of Justice. And I'll say this for a couple of reasons. Number one, Tulsi Gabbard was at the execution of that search warrant site. Judges only authorize law enforcement officers to be at a search warrant site, not civilians. And so I'll be very interested when we see the search warrant, whether there was a specific disclosure about that. It's also an effort to use the criminal justice system to look at events that have long since passed the criminal statute of limitations. And that too seems to be both overreach and an effort to chill. I'll give you some general stats for Arizona. My 22 years as a federal prosecutor, we had a small handful of people who unlawfully voted. In most election cycles, it was 0. In others, maybe it was 1 or 2. I can also tell you those people didn't come from just one political party. They came from various political parties because the rare cheaters aren't owned by one political party or the other. And we see the same in Arizona on the state and the county level. Very, very rare prosecutions. And I want to tell you, in a hyper-partisan world, if people were cheating en masse, social media would learn about it very, very quickly, and it would be detected. So it's just not a thing, this illegal voting. It is a specter designed to chill and diminish the voices of people that want to go to the polls.
Can you talk a little bit about what rights a voter has? So for example, and I know you've done some tremendous work in civil rights here directly in Arizona related to access to ballot boxes without intimidation. And I'm just thinking, for a voter, if we're talking about information that could potentially, go outside of the state of Arizona to the federal government. We're talking about maybe a voter's ballot, maybe a voter's full date of birth, their social security, their driver's license number, their personal sensitive information that is contained in the full voter rolls. And so, just what sort of rights does a voter has when it comes to elections and being a voter?
Sure. And I think at the start, we don't want to frighten any voters into thinking that really bad things are going to happen. I don't think there's any way that the government could figure out who you voted for, right? I mean, I think we have to understand that no matter what scenario comes out, your ballot is not going to be identified to you. Certainly, when someone makes a representation to sign up to vote, the information they use and their date of birth is something that could be checked, could be called into question. So we want to make sure that people who are registering to vote are doing so honestly. And importantly, that the groups who help sign people up to vote also hew to the letter of the law. You have to make sure that even if someone says, I'm going to be a citizen next month, you do not have them sign up to register to vote, just to be extra careful.
I really appreciate you calling out the fact that, nobody is ever going to be able to tell how you voted. So that is 100% correct, where voters, you have a constitutional right to a secret ballot. And so how that works, particularly in Arizona, is so if you're voting in person and you happen to feed your ballot through the tabulator, that's it. There's no other connection to you at that point. And so those bins of counted ballots are being securely transported back to the elections office, and there is no way to tie your ballot back to you. If you vote early, so if you are sending your voted ballot back in your early ballot affidavit envelope, which actually does have your information on it, what happens is when it goes to the counties is that a bipartisan team are actually extracting your ballot from that envelope and they're separating them. And then after, of course, your information has been verified and confirmed that, yes, this ballot should be counted, it is sent over to the tabulation department. And again, there is no way to track those ballots back to the individual voter. So thank you so much for pointing that out, because I know we get a lot of questions from voters about, hey, can you tell me how I voted the past couple of years ago, or how do I know my ballot was secure and confidential? And this is it.
Well, I guess that we have a sort of open-ended end question, which is basically, what else do we need to know? And that's sort of like what we've touched on. I think a lot of the role of the U.S. Attorney's Office here, a lot of the role of the federal government, but we're embarking on this major midterm election. I'm a voter in Arizona. What do I need to be on the lookout for? What's the bottom line of when I should start paying attention, and what should I do about my securing my own confidence in the election?
Well, people should be paying attention right now. I say this after Georgia. I say that after some of the other rhetoric of the current administration. They should be paying attention. They should be ensuring that they are, in fact, registered to vote. They should be updating their address so their precinct is correct. We also should be embracing the cool, good things that we do collaboratively in Arizona. The fact that there's very little precinct-based voting in the large counties now is very, very good. That's several thousand extra votes that are going to count, and those are wholly legitimate votes. Arizona's pretty good at identification at the polls in comparison to other states. There's no need for a SAVE Act when you have the ability to show your proof of citizenship up front when you register, and to show a utility bill to show that you actually live at that address going forward. We've made good compromises here. Arizona residents should insist that their elected officials retain those good compromises.
You talked about little precinct-based voting here, so where we have vote centers and how that means more votes are going to count. And I couple that with the federal law that we have, the right to vote a provisional ballot. And that's always considered a fail-safe for voters. And the fact that we have vote centers, that means that provisionals have dropped significantly because we don't have out-of-precinct voting. So, I think that's definitely a benefit there. And then, to your point about either the SAVE Act, Arizona sometimes gets a bad rap, and I don't know why, because we've been doing things amazingly for a while now. We're the first state to have online voter registration. We actually do have our bifurcated voter registration system where, you do have to provide proof of citizenship if you want to vote in state elections. We have voter ID laws, so you have to show your ID, you have to verify your identity. Essentially, before any ballot can be counted, the voter's identity must always be verified. So I mean, I agree with you. I think Arizona's doing an amazing job in elections. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Ballot AZ. I'm Gina Roberts.
And I'm Tom Collins.